Are you ready? It's time for a houseplant vacation on one more sip of the garden mixer. Cheers, Leslie.
Cheers, Marianne.
How are you?
I'm fine. I am fine, and I'm so glad to be here. And I'm so glad that my houseplants survived my very poor treatment of them. Let's talk first.
Neglect. I'm sorry, what?
No, it wasn't actually neglect. It was so much anticipation.
Laziness.
Laziness? Not in this case. I actually did something, probably a little early. But you're going to talk about what to do better because you're the expert. You read that book. What's the name of it? Let's think.
It is. Let me think. What was it? It was so long ago.
Award-winning. I think we
Yes,
did it with that
award-winning. That's all that comes into my head is award-winning.
It's a big
Several
gold
awards.
trophy.
Yes. Wish it was a trophy. It's a medal. It's right there. Shall I get it?
No,
It's just
sit
right.
down.
Yes, tropical plants and how to love them. One of the chapters is devoted to what I call long-term commitment plants. And those are the very strong houseplants, not just any old houseplant, not just all the houseplants you could grow if you were amazing, but the really strong ones that you really don't have to do much for. And they're inside looking beautiful. And then they go outside and they get even more beautiful, even more healthy. And then they come back inside, much like us, right?
Yeah.
Are you
That is-
taking
yeah.
a summer vacation this year?
I'm going to Cornwall in September.
That's right. But we're not likely to get sun tanned there. Lots of ocean breezes on our faces and alcohol in our veins, but not likely to get any sun. So this is a chance for you to recolor the houseplants that you brought in that came out of greenhouses that looked so spectacular, like that peperomia that was variegated and it had all that gorgeous color. And then it just spent 2 years in a dark corner of your house and it's green and who knows that it was even ever variegated. It doesn't know. It doesn't know.
So
who
much
it is.
dust, we don't know.
So much dust. That's the other thing. So I bring my houseplants outside every year without fail. When I do fail, because it does happen, when I do fail and something doesn't go outside, I am very, very sorry about it later because the plant weakens, because I don't have the bandwidth to be able to take care of all of my outside garden and an inside garden at the same time. So are you half and half? Do you have your houseplants indoors and outdoors during the summer? Do you still have
Yeah.
indoor?
I would say I'm 90% outdoors. They need to get out of my care as fast as possible, for as long as possible. And in fact, I sort of shove them out the door. I'm like, and they're like, Mommy, it's freezing out here. I'm like, oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You can do
Put
it.
on a sweater.
Exactly.
You'll be okay. Well, I'm not too cruel about it. I do like to wait for my zone. I'm 6B, 7A. I like to wait until the temperatures are pretty reliably above 50. Just, and they can be like 49, 51, but somewhere in that range, which is about 10 Celsius for all you Canadians out there. Stacy in Nova Scotia. Hello, Stacy.
Hello, Stacy. How's that baby?
How's that baby? I bet it's cute. In any case, it's a balancing act for me because my house is looking lovely with these plants and you take them all out and then all of a sudden things look really bare. And my husband really notices. He loves the dining room full of plants and that's where a lot of them are. And when everything comes out, all of a sudden he thinks it's bare and horrible. But I love the opportunity to be able to spring clean, which is huge. And to get those plants outside and get any bugs that have started to build, as they inevitably do as the season wears on, as the winter wears on, one aphid becomes 463 million aphids. Although aphids really isn't a problem in the house. That's more in cold storage if it starts to get a little warm. It's more spider mite for
Yeah.
me, and spider mite and sometimes mealybug and scale. Those are the three baddies. Now, a lot of people, when I talk about this during a talk, immediately say, well, aren't you afraid of the bugs? What about the bugs? And yes, bugs happen, as I just explained. I want to bring them out to get away from the bugs. But they're not happening for a while because you really do check those plants over. I treat them for a couple weeks, for a couple sessions before they come in the house. So I don't really have a massive problem with bugs until it's getting like late February, and probably they came in on some Valentine's Day hydrangea or something, and they're finding the Scheffler in the corner.
I think we talked about this as we were putting things away because we did start the garden mixer last fall and we would have been putting things away. I would have been way too late at that. And that is why I feel good about putting my plants out early. Just so you know, listeners, cellularly, plants need time to adjust. And so if a plant can get down to in the 40s, even high 30s, like they do at my house, I know it's terrible. It's not like you can say, and now you're going to do that again after being in my incredibly warm house all winter. You can't do that to a plant, but you can get them used to it. I don't like the bringing in and bringing out thing. I basically put them very close to the house, not in full sun, and wait for a time when it's really pretty close, but it can still be in the 40s for me. Not on the first night. I really look at the weather very carefully.
That's a really key thing that you just said there, not in full sun. My sister-in-law once gave me a massive, probably 5-foot Ficus lyrata, the fiddle leaf fig, that she had scalded to within an inch of its life. And it was no longer beautiful, and therefore it no longer deserved to live in her estimation. She'll never listen to this. Um, and so, of course, who can she give it to guilt-free? It would be me. But those are very slow growers, and they're not going to come back quickly from sun scald, and they will get sun scald. Even if you have your plants in a sunny window, it's not the same as having them out in the brutal sun. So definitely have an area under a tree is a perfect one that has leafed out, perhaps near a hose pipe so that you can make sure that they're getting adequate moisture and let them stay there for a couple weeks and just sort of get used to that new kind of temperature and the new kind of air and the ventilation and all the bugs and the new environment. And then start to move them where you need to. And sometimes for a few of mine, I will still, if they're going into a full sun situation, I will still, once they move to that situation, put a sheet over them for a day or two during the hot part of the day. But they slowly get used to that extra warmth, and you can do it.
If you can identify the plants that ultimately can take full sun, that's great, and you'll get there. But what she said, they might be able to take it ultimately, but they can't take it on the first day. It's like you going to Fort Lauderdale and not putting on the cream, and you're a lobster, and you're probably going to a party and you just look ridiculous. That wouldn't happen in 2 hours in July, but it happens in March.
Yeah, it happens in March. So I think we've established that I'm extremely responsible and Leslie is irresponsible with her
This is an
houseplants
ongoing
men.
theme in the
And
podcast.
yeah, but she was lucky this year.
Yes, I was.
I do the same thing on the back end too. When I'm bringing them in, I'm trying to bring them in while the temperatures are about the same indoors and outdoors, so I don't lose too many leaves when they come in. Because they are cellularly or metabolically, great word, metabolically, it just rolls in the mouth. They are shutting down, and then you bring them into this warm house, and they go, "What the hell?" Does that make us an explicit rating if I say hell? We're explicit now,
Unclear.
listeners. We're
Unclear.
we're actually explicit on
Yeah, we
Apple
don't know what we're
Podcasts. I'm
doing.
I'm really proud of this. I've never been explicit my entire
So
life.
racy.
So I try and keep those temperatures really, really close to one another. And
Just to interrupt, sorry, a hack for that. If you get caught unawares, if you've had a busy October and all of a sudden it's like, ah, these suckers have to come in, instead of going from, last night was 38 degrees, they made it. Tonight's going to be 28. They won't. Put them in the garage, and that way they won't go into your 70-degree house, and they can just have a little time to adjust.
yeah, you don't need to worry about having light on them. You could do that for a week or so and not suffer from it. And some of them may be able to stay in the garage with just a little bit of light coming in from a window, like a clivia, for instance. I love to have my clivia in my dining room, but it does mean the lower light, they're not going to bloom until later, and they're not going to bloom as strongly as people who have had them in a cooler situation with more light. So it's time. It's time to use them. How do you use them outside? You put them as the feature in a container. You group them with other houseplants. You put them with your petunias. You do all sorts of things with them. I plunge Sansevieria, no, not mother-in-law's tongue, snake tongue. somebody's tongue in the middle of ferns. It's beautiful. You can use them in so many different ways. I had somebody at a talk once tell me that he waited very, very late at the end of the season to bring them in because he felt that that kept a lot of bugs off of them. But I would rather just treat them and treat them a couple times and have the temperatures be a little bit more stable for them. So
So you're talking about in fall,
in fall, yeah.
and you treat them several times. And if people want to go back to hear some really good strategies on that, they can buy Marianne's book,
Yes,
Tropical Plants
please
and How I
do.
Love Them.
Please do. And leave a review while you're at it, as long as it's good.
As long as it's good.
And if you don't believe me and you think that I'm just a hack, I do want to say that Liz Hughes at Groovy Plants Ranch in Columbus, Ohio, which is the mecca for very hip millennials to get the newest and the bluest houseplants at amazing prices. That's on the high side, not the low side of amazing.
Oh, darn.
But they pay for them. Only place I ever saw a $549 4-inch pot. But they also have great, great, cool plants in there. Oh yeah, no, that happened. I have a picture of it. I'll find it. Show notes. And but Liz is so great, and she and I were speaking together at something or other, and she said she brings her houseplants outside to get rid of the bugs. They all need to go outside. She has them out on her porch. She makes this gorgeous sort of tropical feeling enclosed atmospheric space outside. So use them to do that. And if me telling you so isn't enough, then Liz told you so.
I have a question.
Yes.
I find, and I was just doing this the other day, so mine were all huddled under my porch, so it's low light, nice light, but they are outside, and now it's time to put them in places in my garden. My gut is that any houseplant should be under a tree or in definitely at least half-day shade, but it's very difficult to, my magical oracle that you hate and I kind of like. You
Yes.
go to try to find out what kind.
The time thief. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
You're not, sorry. And a house plant can take, and all it talks about is the house plant inside light, because there are some wonderful house plants, and you could probably name 3, and I can't name any, that once acclimated can take full sun. Could you name a few of those? Because I would like to get that going.
Yeah, one that I just mentioned, Sansevieria, which we're so used to being the plant that can sit in a teenager's corner of a teenager's room and live.
And live.
But it grows in full sun. The nursery specimens in Florida, they grow. And then once they're going to be shipped up to us, they go through this long period of adjustment with more and more shade cloth on them so that they can get used to the low light of Lowe's or Home Depot or wherever you're going to get them from. So that's one of them.
Any others that pop into your head?
Chef Flora, they can do okay.
Well, I think it can take a little bit, right? Just a little bit.
Yeah, they can take some. Yeah. I mean, I would keep them in a partial shade location for, it's not hot sun. But yes, they can. The best way to figure this out for whatever plants you have, because there are so many out there, is to go and find out where does the plant come from and its preferred habitat. If it's an understory plant, then it's going to that means that there's trees up above it in the canopy, and it is very used to that beautiful, lovely, shady situation. And if it's an out, edge of forest type of plant, then it's going to be just fine in a dappled shade situation or maybe a little bit more sun. So find out the habitat of where your plant is coming from, and you should be doing that for every plant you grow anyway. Not that you're going to remember it later, but when you're just trying to figure out the location,
what it wants.
It's a really good idea to do.
And just to clarify, even if it's a highlight, like full sun plant, that is not the way to start out. You need the suntan lotion, you need the shade at the beginning. My mother used to move lightweight garden furniture over plants that she thought, this is not ready for the sun. This is like, I need to get sunscreen. And she would just put a chair over it for a few days.
That's a great way to do it. So you cannot sue us. I think we've made it perfectly clear. If your $549 Constellation Monstera, that's what it was. This was, back when it was really, really trending. If that takes a big old sunburn, yeah, you're not coming back to Leslie and Marianne for some of the Reddies, because we have warned you. We have told you several times, be smart, be brave, be bold, but be smart.
One little last question. So over the summer vacation, these charges of ours, just like kids at camp, are running around. They are going to get a little thirstier and hungrier than all winter long, right? So you should attend to their needs, watch them grow, but feed and make sure that they don't dry out. And they're going to dry out a lot faster outside than inside because of higher light. Even if it's low light outside, that's higher light. Sitting by a window, usually, I mean, it depends on the density of the shade, but the wind is a factor. So they will dry out quickly, and just keep your eye on that.
They have greater needs, but they're also, remember, they're getting rain.
Yeah.
They're getting little bits of nourishment in places that you wouldn't even expect it. Sometimes from insects, in the bromeliads, and sometimes from leaves falling on them, all sorts of things. So yeah, but do keep an eye on them. That's important too. All
That
right.
was one more sip.
It was, and I actually haven't taken a first sip, so I'm going to do that.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.